My parents demanded I pay $3,500 for my brother's party, then my car, so I cut them off, and now they've lost everything. I never realized how messed up my family was until I was already an adult. It's kind of funny how that works. You grow up thinking your situation is normal until you step back and see the whole picture. Anyway, I'm Jake, 25, and I've been working in finance for about 3 years now. It's a pretty decent job, pays the bills, and then some. But man, my little brother Alex has been the golden child since we were kids. It was so damn obvious it was painful. My earliest memory of this crap was when I was about 8 and won a school science fair. I got a blue ribbon and everything. My dad just nodded and said, "Good," like I'd remembered to take out the trash or something. Mom gave me a quick side hug, and that was it. 2 weeks later, Alex scored a goal in his soccer game. His team still lost, by the way. And Dad literally picked him up on his shoulders, drove us all to get ice cream, and hung his jersey on the fridge for like a month. High school made it even more obvious. I joined the debate team and made it to the state finals. My parents didn't even come to watch. Alex joined football, sat on the bench most games, and my parents never missed a single one. They bought team merchandise, made signs, the whole 9 yards. Dad would talk about my son, the football player, to anyone who would listen, even though Alex barely played. When I graduated as valedictorian, you know what my dad said? "That's what we expect from you. Not good job or proud of you, just that it was expected." Nothing I did was ever good enough to be celebrated, it was just meeting the minimum requirements. But anything Alex did was amazing and special. College was brutal. I busted my ass to get scholarships, worked 3 different jobs, campus computer lab in the mornings, tutoring in the afternoons, and weekend shifts at this nasty sandwich shop. And still graduated with honors. My bank account was always nearly empty because I was paying my own way through everything. Alex? They bought him a used Honda Civic so he could focus on his studies, paid his full tuition without him having to work a single hour, and gave him a $700 monthly allowance for expenses. The dude was living it up at parties while I was working 30 hours a week on top of full-time classes. When I graduated, there was no celebration, no party, no acknowledgement of the years of hard work. The only thing my parents said was to ask where I was taking them to dinner. I ended up spending $350 I'd saved from my part-time jobs on a meal they barely seemed to enjoy. Not a single "we're proud of you" the entire night. Then I got my first real job. Before I even got my first paycheck, my parents told me I needed to pay $1,200 a month for rent and expenses to continue living at home. When I pointed out this seemed like a lot, they hit me with the guilt trip. "We're getting older and need the financial help." I nearly moved out right then. But they negotiated down to $800 when I threatened to leave. Like a dumbass, I agreed, still believing that family should stick together. What a joke that turned out to be. Every month, I'd hand over that $800 while watching Alex come and go as he pleased, never paying a dime. Dad would take him fishing on weekends. They'd watch sports together, go to car shows, all while I was either working or being told I needed to contribute more around the house on top of the money I was already giving them. My dad and Alex had all these inside jokes and memories from their bonding time. Dad would mess up Alex's hair affectionately or clap him on the shoulder with pride. Me? Dad only touched me when we shook hands, like business partners, when I handed over my monthly rent. I tried for a while to get some kind of approval. I'd share news about promotions or deals I closed at work. Dad would just nod and change the subject to whatever Alex was doing in school. I'd offer to help with projects around the house. But somehow, Alex always got the fun parts while I got the grunt work. One time, I overheard my dad on the phone with my uncle, bragging about how Alex had managed to pass all his classes that semester. My uncle must have asked about me because Dad said, "Oh, Jake's fine, he's always fine. Never have to worry about him." That's when it really hit me. They didn't celebrate my accomplishments because they never worried about me failing. They expected me to succeed. So when I did, it wasn't special. But they always worried about Alex failing, so when he didn't, it was celebration-worthy. I wasn't a son to them, I was a reliable appliance. You don't congratulate the refrigerator for keeping food cold, that's just what it's supposed to do. But you throw a party when the crappy toaster that always burns the bread finally makes decent toast once. After years of this treatment, I started pulling away emotionally. What was the point of seeking approval I'd never get? I focused on my job, my own goals, and started thinking about moving out, but kept putting it off because of that stupid family-first mentality I'd been raised with. The whole mess I've come to write about exploded about a year ago when Alex was graduating college. I was chilling with coffee before work when I got summoned to the living room like a kid about to be grounded. Both parents were sitting there, looking all serious, while Golden Boy was still passed out upstairs after partying all night. They straight up told me, not asked, told, that I had to be at Alex's graduation dinner that night. They'd already booked some fancy-ass table at this upscale place downtown, and they demanded that I had to bring a gift. My mom made it crystal clear. If I showed up empty-handed, I shouldn't bother coming at all. I just sat there, thinking about my own graduation 2 years earlier. Did I get a fancy dinner? Hell no. Did I get gifts? Nope. I didn't even get a simple congrats from them. I had to handle everything myself, earning my degree, finding a job, all that adult stuff. And I never asked them for a cent. Mom noticed me hesitating and was like, "You're his older brother after all. You should at least bring something nice. If you don't have a gift, then don't bother coming and embarrassing the family." Like seriously? I mean, he's my brother, of course, I'd get him something. But the way they demanded it made me so damn angry. You ever have that feeling when you're about to do something, but then someone orders you to do it, and suddenly you just want to throw the whole idea out the window? Yeah, that exact feeling. I laughed a little, the audacity, right? I grabbed my car keys and left for work, but I was already planning something in my head. They wanted a gift? Oh, I'd make sure it was unforgettable. All day at work, I kept thinking about this stupid dinner I was being ordered to attend. Despite everything, Alex was still my brother, so I decided to do something epic. I'd get him a custom gaming PC. Not just any regular pre-built crap either. I'm talking an absolute monster rig. RTX 4080, i9 processor, 64 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, custom water cooling loop with RGB throughout the case. A beast that could handle any game at max settings with room to spare. It cost me nearly $3,500 to order. I arranged for it to be delivered directly to the restaurant for maximum impact. I left work right at 6 o'clock and drove to the restaurant. Walking in, I immediately saw they'd gone all out. At least 50 people were there. Alex's college buddies, random relatives I barely knew, my parents' coworkers, even people I'd straight up never seen before. Every table was packed, every seat filled, except there wasn't one for me. When my parents spotted me, they came over, looking annoyed instead of happy to see me. Mom crossed her arms and shook her head. "You're late, there are no seats left." I frowned, looking around. "What about that one?" I pointed to an empty chair near Alex. She glanced at it, then turned back to me with this condescending look. "That seat is taken. One of Alex's friends is coming later." I couldn't believe it. So, Alex's friend who isn't even here yet gets a seat, but I don't? Dad just nodded like this was perfectly reasonable. Mom was already losing interest in the conversation. She looked me up and down, her expression getting even more irritated. "Where's Alex's gift?" she demanded. "You didn't bring anything, did you?" Before I could answer, she crossed her arms tighter. "Honestly, I think you should just leave. You're late, there's no place for you, and you didn't even bring a present. What's the point of you even being here?" People nearby started turning to look at us. I could hear the whispers starting. "He came without a gift? He's the older brother, he should have at least brought something. No gift, but still expecting to sit down and eat?" My dad stepped closer, keeping his voice low but stern. "Your mother's right. This is embarrassing. You know how important appearances are. Either produce a gift right now, or leave before you ruin Alex's special day." I stood there, taking in the judgment from every direction. People who never once acknowledged my achievements were now experts on my character, all whispering about what a terrible brother I was. My parents were more concerned about how this looked to their friends than how they were treating their own son. I almost walked out right then, but I remembered the plan. The delivery was scheduled for 6:30. Right on time, my phone buzzed. I picked up, making sure to speak loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Hello? Yes, you can bring in the delivery now." The whispers immediately stopped. My parents exchanged confused glances. When the delivery guys walked in, carrying this massive, clearly expensive custom gaming PC with the glass panel showing off all the RGB lighting and liquid cooling, everyone shut up and turned to stare. I announced it was Alex's graduation gift. The room erupted in whispers and approving nods. Alex looked genuinely shocked, staring at this beast of a machine. My parents were suddenly beaming with pride, like they'd accomplished something amazing themselves. My mom leaned over to some distant aunt and whispered loud enough for me to hear, "See? I told you Jake would never show up empty-handed." My dad, not at all smug, said, "Guess we misjudged him. He knows his responsibilities after all." The people who'd been judging me minutes ago were now smiling, acting like they never doubted me. My parents went from telling me to leave to acting like I was the perfect son. The complete 180 was almost funny to watch. I looked around at all their satisfied faces, all smug and relieved that I'd done what was expected. I let them enjoy that feeling for about 30 seconds. Then I dropped the bomb. As everyone was admiring the PC, I calmly added, "But I don't think you need it." The room went dead silent. I turned to the delivery guys, keeping my voice steady. "Actually, there's been a change of plans. This is going to be delivered to my address instead." Although at that time I didn't own my place yet, so I wrote the address of one of my buddies. The delivery guys looked confused but stayed professional. One of them checked his tablet and nodded. "We can update the delivery information, sir. No problem." "Wait, what?" Alex sputtered. "Since there's no seat for me here, I figured I might as well keep the PC for myself," I explained, signing the updated delivery form. "I've been needing an upgrade anyway." As the delivery guys prepared to take the PC back to their truck, the restaurant erupted. Alex jumped up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. He started yelling about what an asshole I was. My dad's face turned bright red as he shouted about embarrassing the family in public. My mom looked like she was about to have a stroke, sputtering about how she always knew I'd ruin things. Alex's college buddies were glaring at me. The relatives were whispering even louder now, "What a terrible brother." Always was the difficult one. No respect for family. All these people who never once acknowledged my achievements or struggles were suddenly experts on my character. I didn't give a damn. I didn't defend myself. I just stayed calm, which seemed to piss them off even more. Without another word, I turned around and walked toward the exit. Right before leaving, I said, "I didn't have a seat at this table, so there was no reason for me to spend $3,500 on Alex or on this family." The look on my dad's face was worth every penny I had invested in that PC. For once in my life, I'd surprised him. He'd always been able to predict and control me, but not this time. For the first time ever, I saw uncertainty in his eyes. He didn't know what I would do next, and that scared him. I walked out, feeling like a weight had finally been lifted off my shoulders. As soon as I got to my car, I called my buddy and told him the PC was mine now, and asked if he could hold on to it at his place for a bit. He started joking, saying he'd set it up for himself and never give it back, but I wasn't in the mood to laugh. He must have caught the strain in my voice because he dropped the teasing right away and just said, "Yeah man, I got you. No worries." And for once, I actually felt like someone was on my side. At that point, I was still living at home, so there was no way I could bring the PC there without setting off World War III. My friend's place was the safest bet, at least until I could figure out my own living situation. And yeah, the thought of moving out was creeping up in my mind more than ever. I just hadn't acted on it yet. But I knew deep down I was already done with that house. I got home around 10 o'clock that night, hoping everyone would still be at the dinner or maybe asleep. But my parents were waiting in the living room, like they were about to stage an intervention or something. Before I could even get my shoes off, Alex came storming down the stairs, looking like he'd been holding back a rage fit for hours. His eyes were bloodshot, hair all messy, still wearing that stupid dress shirt he wore to dinner, now wrinkled and half unbuttoned. "You're such a piece of crap, you know that?" he practically screamed. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You made me look like a freaking joke." "Maybe because you treated me like one," I shot back. I was already too drained to even pretend to play nice. "Oh, cry me a river, Jake. You're such a martyr, always acting like you're so above everyone else just because you've got a decent job and saved some money. You think you're better than me? Because guess what, you're not." I folded my arms and kept my voice level. "Never said I was better than you. Just tired of being treated like crap. Tired of being your backup plan whenever things don't go your way." He looked like he was about to punch a wall. "You were supposed to give me that PC. You knew how much I wanted it. And then you pull that stunt just to make me look bad, like you're some kind of hero standing up to our horrible parents. Alex, if you wanted something, you could have worked for it, earned it. Instead, you just expect everything handed to you because that's how it's always been. But not everything's going to be handed to you forever. Wow, real motivational speech coming from the guy who's never had to worry about anyone but himself. You just keep pretending like you're some innocent victim in all this, Jake. Keep acting like you're some righteous martyr. Guess what? Everyone sees through your crap. They all know what a bitter, miserable prick you really are. Right. Because I'm the miserable one screaming at my brother in the middle of the night over a PC I never earned. Alex was breathing hard, like he'd just run a marathon. He looked around, like he was expecting our parents to back him up. And of course they did. Alex, honey, calm down. Your brother's just going through something. It's not worth getting so upset over, Mom said, her voice all sugary and soothing, like she was talking down a toddler throwing a tantrum. Dad stepped in next, placing a hand on Alex's shoulder like he was consoling a kid who just lost a game. He's right, just take it easy, son. We'll sort all this out. Jake was just overreacting. Their words made Alex even angrier. Overreacting? He ruined my graduation dinner. You two just let him walk out of there like it was no big deal. Jake will fix it, sweetheart, Mom said, her eyes darting over to me with the kind of pleading look that told me I was supposed to take the hint and apologize. He'll make it up to you, right, Jake? I just stared at her, completely done with the manipulation. No, I won't. For a second I almost felt bad, but only for a second, because I knew Alex wouldn't have felt bad for me if the roles were reversed. It was weird, though. That was the first time I'd ever seen him genuinely mad at me, not just annoyed or irritated, but furious, like he couldn't handle not getting what he wanted for once, like I'd somehow shattered his little world where everything always went his way. But I couldn't bring myself to care. I just turned to my parents and waited for whatever crap they were about to spew. But it was like Alex had already stolen their thunder. They just stood there, looking at me like I was some kind of alien they didn't know how to deal with. I went to bed that night, completely exhausted, thought maybe they'd leave me alone. But of course, that was wishful thinking. The next morning, I was getting ready for work when Mom knocked on my door. Not the usual pounding like when they needed me to do something around the house, but a soft, hesitant knock. That alone made me suspicious. I opened the door to see both my parents standing there, looking all awkward and uncomfortable, like they'd rehearsed this whole act and were now trying to figure out how to deliver their lines. We wanted to apologize, Jake, Mom said, her voice trying to sound warm. Things got out of hand last night. We should have saved you a seat at the dinner and made sure you felt included. Yeah, Dad added, nodding like a puppet. It was wrong to make you feel like you weren't part of the celebration. We're sorry. I just stood there, not buying any of it, because if there was one thing I'd learned over the years, it was that apologies only came when they wanted something. And sure enough, Dad kept talking. But Alex is really upset that you didn't give him the PC. He was looking forward to it, and it's understandable he'd be hurt. So maybe there's another way to make things right. Like what? I asked, already regretting engaging. Well, Mom started, her smile way too forced. Since you took the PC back, maybe you could help cover the dinner bill instead. It was $2,800, but we think it's fair if you just pay half, $1,400. That way, everything's smoothed over. There it was, the real reason they came knocking. It was never about including me or making me feel valued. It was about making sure Alex got what he wanted, one way or another. I actually laughed. It came out sharp and cold, but I couldn't help it. No, Mom's face twisted like she'd tasted something sour. Dad's expression hardened instantly. They went from fake sweet to pissed in a heartbeat. Don't be selfish, Mom snapped, dropping the gentle act completely. Family helps each other. That's how it should be. Yeah, I replied, but helping isn't the same as being used. Dad was losing his patience. You make the most money in this family. Are you saying you can't contribute a little? Do you know how hard we work to care for you and Alex? I cut him off right there. You didn't take care of me. I've been taking care of myself for a long time. The room got super tense. Mom looked at me like I'd slapped her. And then you wonder why you always feel so distant from this family. You're the one who keeps pulling away. You never try to connect with us. You can't even be generous with your brother. I looked her straight in the eyes. And were you ever generous with me? She froze. I stepped forward. When I graduated with honors, what did you do? Silence, not a word. I opened up their history of favoritism and slapped it in their faces. You bought me a cheap bouquet from the grocery store and told me to plan my own celebration. Then you made me pay for dinner. And Alex? He had a regular graduation, nothing special. And you threw him a massive party with over 50 guests. Did I have a seat at that table? No. But his late arriving friends did. My dad cleared his throat, trying to find an excuse. We didn't throw a party for you because we knew you were independent. You didn't need us to. I laughed again. Right, because I took care of myself, you used it as an excuse to ignore me. And because Alex never had to be independent, you used that to keep spoiling him. The truth was hanging in the air between us. They had no comeback. I knew it wasn't because they understood or felt bad. They just didn't know what to say when faced with the reality of how they treated me. I sighed. If you're only apologizing to ask for money, then there's nothing left to discuss. I walked to my room, ignoring them calling after me. I was done with this fight. But one thing was crystal clear. I needed to get the hell out of that house. I didn't sleep much that night. Kept thinking about all the years I'd spent trying to earn love that should have been freely given. All. The times I'd swallowed my hurt and disappointment because family is family. All the money I'd handed over while watching Alex get everything for free. I'd been such an idiot, thinking that if I just worked hard enough, achieved enough, gave enough, they'd finally see me as worthy of the same love they gave Alex automatically. But that was never going to happen. I decided right then that I was done. Done being the reliable one who always got taken for granted. Done being the afterthought. The next morning, I got up early and left for work before anyone else was awake. I spent my lunch break looking at apartment listings on my phone. There were a few decent options in my price range. Nothing fancy, but definitely better than continuing to pay $800 a month to live somewhere I wasn't wanted or respected. I thought things might chill out after a few days, that they'd stop with the demands now that I'd finally stood up for myself. Shows how little I understood my own family. Just 2 days after the restaurant disaster, they hit me with yet another request. They wanted me to give my car to Alex. His car is getting old, Mom said, like she was discussing the weather. He needs a newer one to apply for jobs and commute to work. I stared at them, wondering if this was some kind of sick joke. Are you serious? They were dead serious. Mom nodded, like this was the most reasonable request in the world. You started working before Alex, you can help him out a little. Dad crossed his arms. Exactly. You're the older brother, you should support your sibling. I barely reacted. By then I was done expecting fairness or even basic decency from them. Their demands sounded more ridiculous than upsetting. I looked at them, expression flat. You want my car? The one I spent months saving up for, working overtime, budgeting every single dollar, while Alex partied his way through college? Dad's tone was hard, his patience stretched thin. Alex just graduated. He needs a car to get to interviews and secure a good job. You've got a steady income, you can buy another one. I shrugged, my voice calm and detached. If Alex needs a car, he can drive his old one a little longer. Or better yet, he can learn how to earn what he wants instead of waiting for someone else to hand it over. I let the silence stretch before adding, if you really want him to have my car, buy it from me fair and square. Dad's face went white. Then he exploded. What did you just say? He slammed his hand on the table. You're asking us to pay to help your brother? I looked him straight in the eye. You want me to help? At the very least it should be fair. Fair? You want to talk about fairness with your brother? Dad was turning red, veins popping out on his forehead. I didn't respond. I was tired of this conversation before it even started. Dad stood up, pointing his finger at me. Get out of my house. The room went dead silent. Mom looked stunned. Alex, who'd been quiet the whole time, froze mid-bite of his cereal. I wasn't surprised. It felt like I was watching a movie where I already knew the ending. I took a deep breath and nodded. All right. I went straight to my room without looking back. This time, I didn't need to argue. They had decided for me, and honestly, it was the push I needed. 30 minutes later, I came downstairs with 2 suitcases. I didn't need much. Clothes, personal stuff, important documents, just the essentials. I left behind anything that tied me to that house. No point bringing reminders of a past I was leaving behind. I walked to the door with my stuff. As my hand touched the doorknob, Dad called out from behind me, "Let's see how you survive without family." I paused for a second, not because his words hurt, they didn't, but because I realized something. In their eyes, I needed this family to survive. They genuinely believed I couldn't exist without them, that I couldn't be happy without them. But they were so wrong it was almost funny. I didn't say anything back, no point arguing anymore. I just opened the door, stepped outside, and shut it behind me, closing an entire chapter of my life. I walked to my car, threw my suitcases in the trunk, and drove away. I didn't even look in the rearview mirror. The first week after leaving, I stayed in a cheap motel while apartment hunting. The room was basic as hell, but even that crappy motel room felt more like home than the house I just left because it was mine. After about 10 days of searching, I found a decent apartment, nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom place, about 600 square feet. Rent was $750 a month, which was less than I'd been paying my parents. The irony wasn't lost on me. Those first few weeks on my own were eye-opening. I realized how much mental energy I'd been wasting trying to get my family's approval. Without that drain, I had so much more energy for everything else. I slept better, ate better, even looked better, according to my CO workers. All the tension I'd been carrying around for years just melted away. 6 months flew by, no contact from my parents, which was fine by me. I heard through a mutual friend that Alex still didn't have a job and was living off my parents, same as always. No surprise there. I'd gotten used to the peace of living alone when my phone rang one day. Mom's name popped up on the screen. First time she'd reached out in half a year. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. Her voice was weird, all soft and sweet, like when she wanted something. "I miss you, Jake. It's been so long since you came home. Can we meet up?" I was surprised but agreed without asking questions. She suggested a cafe downtown, a place we'd never been before. The moment I walked in, I understood why she'd picked this neutral location. Dad and Alex were sitting at a table in the corner. Once again I'd walked into a family ambush I hadn't been warned about. Mom smiled, like this was just a casual get-together. "How have you been?" "We're doing well." Something felt off. My parents never asked about me unless they wanted something. I didn't bother playing along. "Just get to the point," I said. She flinched but quickly recovered. "Can you lend us $30,000? I nearly choked on my water. "Excuse me?" Dad jumped in. "Alex wants to open a coffee shop. He has a great business plan, but bank loans have ridiculous interest rates. If you could lend us the money for a year, we promise to pay it back in full." I turned to look at Alex. He was trying to look serious and professional, but I could see that familiar entitled look in his eyes. And that's when I knew. Nothing had changed, not one damn thing. I was stunned. "You've got to be kidding me. You haven't spoken to me in 6 months, and the first thing you do is ask for 30 grand? Mom's expression shifted from fake nice to desperate. "Alex has grown up, Jake. He needs a chance to prove himself. Can't you help him this one time? We're family." "I'll pay it back as soon as the coffee shop starts making profit," Alex added. "This is my big opportunity, bro." I kept smiling, but inside, I was doing the math. Alex had never held down a job longer than 2 weeks, never managed money responsibly, never followed through on anything difficult. If I gave them this money, I'd never see a penny of it again. "No," I said simply, as I did every time. Dad immediately lost it. "Stop being so selfish, Jake." His voice got louder, making people at nearby tables turn to look. "All you ever think about is yourself? Are you jealous of your brother? Afraid he'll be more successful than you?" Classic dad move: when logic fails, attack my character. It used to work every time. Not anymore. I looked at him, keeping my face neutral. "All right, I'll do it." Their reactions were instant. Mom's face lit up like a Christmas tree. Alex sighed with obvious relief. Dad calmed down, his tone suddenly warm again. "That's right, son. Family helps each other." The son part almost made me laugh. Funny how I was only son when I was doing what they wanted. But I wasn't done. I smiled and continued. "I'll lend you $30,000 no interest," but I paused for effect. "You and Alex have to sign a formal loan agreement. The collateral will be the house you're living in. If you don't pay me back in a year, the house becomes mine." The cafe went completely silent. Mom's mouth hung open. Dad's eyes got huge. Alex sat frozen, like someone had hit pause on him. I stayed seated, smiling like we were having a pleasant chat about the weather. "Well, we're family. You believe in Alex's success, don't you? So this shouldn't be a problem." Dad opened his mouth, then closed it again. He stared at me, trying to find a way out, but all he could say was, "I have no son like you." Those words might have hurt once upon a time. Now they just confirmed what I already knew. I shrugged, stood up, grabbed my jacket and said, "That's your choice. Goodbye." No one stopped me as I walked out. No one called after me, and I wasn't expecting them to. After that day, I cut all contact, blocked their numbers, unfriended them on social media, the works. No more calls. No more guilt trips, demands, or manipulation tactics. I moved forward with my life, got another promotion, started dating again, took a vacation for the first time in years, and I had zero regrets. A few months later, I ran into my cousin Tara at the grocery store. We weren't super close, but we'd always gotten along okay. She sighed when she saw me, like she didn't know where to start. "Have you heard what's going on with your folks and Alex?" she asked. I shrugged. Nope, and honestly, not interested. Tara lowered her voice anyway. Alex's coffee shop went under after just 3 months. No customers, huge losses. He had to sell it off. I wasn't shocked. Anyone with half a brain could have seen that coming. Alex had never earned $1 on his own, never managed anything. His failure was inevitable. And oh, Tara continued, your parents are selling the house to pay off his debts. They backed his business loan with their home equity, and now they're underwater. They're looking for a smaller place to move into. I grabbed a box of cereal off the shelf, pretending to read the nutritional info while I processed this. I didn't feel satisfied or happy about their situation. I didn't feel sorry for them either. This was simply the result of their choices. They had bet everything on Alex, had chosen him over me consistently for our entire lives, and now they were paying the price. I looked at Tara and gave a small smile. I gave them a chance. They chose not to take it. Tara nodded but didn't push it. She knew the history well enough. As we were about to part ways, I added, "If they ever ask about me, tell them I'm doing just fine and I'm not coming back." I knew plenty of people still sided with my parents and Alex. The whole "he's family, you have to forgive him" crowd. The blood is thicker than water folks who think sharing DNA means you have to put up with toxic treatment. But I was done with that mentality. And yeah, it's been 3 months since that cafe meetup, and honestly, life's been pretty sweet. Got that promotion at work I'd been gunning for, my own office with a view and everything, picked up rock climbing as a hobby. Who knew scaling walls could be so damn therapeutic? After finally getting my own place, I swung by my buddy's apartment to pick up the PC. He was confused as hell about the whole thing. I filled him in on everything, and he laughed his ass off, calling it the ultimate revenge gift. But that monster, that RTX 4080 rig with the custom water cooling, runs every game I throw at it like a dream. Sometimes, when I'm blasting through Elden Ring at max settings with zero lag, I think about Alex's face when I told the delivery guys to change the address. Worth every penny of that $30,500. Surprisingly, I got a text from Alex last week, first contact in months. Just 4 words, "I messed up bad." Didn't respond. What's there to say? "I told you so" feels too petty, and "how can I help" isn't something I'm willing to offer anymore. Dad hasn't reached out at all, his pride won't let him. Mom sent a birthday card last month, no apology, just a generic happy birthday with her signature. I sent it back unopened. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if they treated us equally growing up. If Dad had shown me the same pride he showed Alex. If Mom had defended me the way she always defended him. Would we still be family? Would I still be in their lives? Too late for those questions now. You can't fix 25 years of favoritism with an apology, especially when they're not even willing to offer one. The strangest part is how little I miss them. I thought there'd be this huge hole in my life, this constant ache of missing family. But there isn't. The peace of not dealing with their constant demands, the freedom of not measuring myself against their impossible standards. It's worth any sense of loss. A few people from the extended family have reached out, trying to play peacemaker, talking about forgiveness and second chances. I just tell them the same thing. I gave second chances. I gave third, fourth, and fifth chances too. There's a difference between forgiveness and being a doormat, and I'm done being walked all over. I don't know if I'll ever speak to them again. Maybe someday, if they can acknowledge how they treated me and genuinely want to change, but I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not putting my life on hold waiting for an apology that will probably never come. For now, I'm focused on building my own life, my own happiness, my own success. No more living in someone else's shadow, no more fighting for scraps of approval. Turns out, family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the friends who actually show up for you, the CO workers who celebrate your wins, the neighbors who check if you need anything from the store. So yeah, I went nuclear on my family, cut them off completely, and honestly, best decision I ever made.